Hey, it's Evie, welcome to my channel. Are you struggling to get contact from a specific person? You want to text, you've been trying to get a text, a phone call, social media contact from an ex or somebody that you're really keen on and you haven't managed to do it, and you're wondering why everybody else seems to be able to do it but you can't do it. Now, it is really easy to do this. It's an easy process. Actually, it's not even a process. All you really need to do is intend, but I will teach you a technique. But it's all in the letting go. If you are struggling, if you found that you've done all these things that I'm going to tell you about and then nothing's happened, it's because you haven't let go. It's as simple as that. There's no other. See, if you're wondering whether you've let go, then you haven't let go. I'll tell you what letting go is. I'm going to explain to you how letting go feels. Letting go is you've gone off shopping or something and you've bumped into a friend and you've chatted, and then you're driving home and you think, oh, I haven't thought about them all that time, not at all. They weren't in the back of my mind, they weren't there at all. And then you think about them for a bit, and that's absolutely fine. And then you might go to work and you haven't thought about them for a couple of hours. You've been engrossed in something, you haven't thought about them at all. And it's not just the thinking about them, it's not having them in the back of your mind. Now, if you can do that, and if you've got to that point, then you have definitely let go. And even if you keep going back to thinking about them, it doesn't matter. As long as you're having periods of time where you're letting go, that is fine, and that will be how you will manifest. So what do you do in order to kickstart this? First of all, you intend. That's the first thing you do. I intend this person to contact me. And then you feel that. And then you feel the way that you would feel if they had contacted you, and you get that feeling. Okay, and you sit with that feeling for a minute or so. Don't have to do it any longer than that. Just sit with it like that. You can imagine a scenario where they contact you and you can imagine a specific text. I wouldn't do that. I would just go way more general, because the more specific you start to get, the more uptight you get about it. So I would go general with it and just get a feeling of the tone of the contact that you want. So if you want it to be loving, if you want it to be happy, friendly, jolly, whatever, get a tone of that, get that tone in your mind, and then feel that. Now, the final step is to feel as if it is done. So you say to yourself, okay, it's done. There's nothing else I can do now. I pass it over to whatever, it is done. And I describe that feeling to people as when I used to do my own bookkeeping years ago, I used to leave everything until the last minute, and I'd have months and months and months to do, and I would absolutely hate it because I hate admin. I just hate admin. And I'd put it off. Eventually I would do it, and it would take me days to get it all up to date before it was ready to hand over to my accountant. But when I got to the end of it, I just breathed this huge sigh of relief, and I just felt like, oh, I've done it. That's all I can do. I can't do any more now. Hand it over to my accountant. And that's the sort of feeling that you want, that feeling that it is done. Now, I do this all of the time, and I'll give you an example of what I did last night. My son is away travelling, and he's gone with a friend, and he's gone with his girlfriend, and he'd met up with some other friends in Amsterdam, and he's only there for a few more days now, and something had been said, and anyway, his girlfriend finished with him, and he was devastated, and he called up and was talking to him and giving him advice and telling him what he should do and what he shouldn't do. And then and he's into this as well, and I said, but the thing is, Harry, you know what you've got to do. If you don't want this to end, you know that all you've got to do is imagine her saying what you want her to say to clear this up. And I said, I'm going to do that for you. I am going to intend for it to be okay, and I'm going to get the feeling that you're back together and it's absolutely fine. So I did that, put the phone down, I sat quietly, and I said to my husband, go away, because I have to manifest Harry's girlfriend back. I won't say her name, and I sat there and I imagined that it was okay, and I felt it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. But I didn't quite have that feeling for a few minutes, so I had to wait for that feeling. And then all of a sudden, I get it, and I get, yeah, they're going to be absolutely fine, and I just let it go. 10 minutes later, she calls me, and just talks to me and said, oh, I'm so sorry if we worried you, and just explained how she was feeling, and she just said, I feel much better about it now, all of a sudden. And it is as simple as that, and you have to let go. And I knew it was going to be okay. So when you get that feeling, okay, it's going to happen, then just accept that it's going to happen, but you don't know when. And don't stress about time, because that feeling really is like an intuitive feeling, and it is right every single time. When you get used to that feeling, you need to get practiced at that feeling and knowing what that feeling means and knowing that everything will be okay. So once you've had that feeling, then you just let it go. And I strongly urge you to think about this as a little bit of magic, like a little bit of a spell that you're casting. Don't take it too seriously. Don't get wound up about it, because you're in the situation that you're in at the moment. Just accept that that's your situation at the moment. And wouldn't it be lovely if this happened? Now, all it takes now is to let go. That's all it takes, and it will happen. And if you let go on the same day, it could happen on the same day. Generally for me, anything like this will happen on the same day. I manifested a text, in a specific text, because I wanted to be specific, and I've mentioned this in another video, and it was from a friend of mine who we'd been friends for years. We were boyfriend and girlfriend back in the day, but we'd stayed friends, and he'd married, and anyway, his marriage has split up. He got very dependent on me, and it just got out of hand, and in the end I had to end the friendship, and I hated doing it. I absolutely hated doing it. We didn't speak for years. We didn't actually fall out, but that was an end to it. I couldn't have it anymore. But I wanted to clear the air because I felt bad. I'd always felt bad about it, but it wasn't the time. So years had gone by, he got remarried, and he's happy. I know he's happy because my mum knows his mum. And so I decided, okay, it was a good time to clear the air now. So I imagined the text that he would send me, and it wasn't that long. It was a short text. All I wanted to do here, bear in mind, is clear the air. 2 days later, it could have been 3 days later, but it was roughly about that time, I got pretty much that exact text. I responded in the way I wanted to respond. He came back in a sort of a way that I had seen him come back. We had just about 4 or 5 exchanges, I think, and that was that. Happy days. It all worked out. We cleared the air, and I wouldn't say we're not friends. We're not going to see each other or anything, but it's sorted. If we bump into each other, it's absolutely fine. It's going to be fine. But I had no major attachment to that. I wanted it, but I wasn't that bothered. I wouldn't have been hung up if it hadn't happened. So that's what you need to be, not hung up if it doesn't happen, because all you're doing is giving it a go, seeing what harm can it do. It can't do any harm, and it has to make you feel good. When you do it, you have to feel, I don't have to say feel really happy, but you have to feel at least neutral. You can't be feeling irritated or uptight or upset. You can't be feeling any of that stuff. You have to be coming from a good place. And if you're not coming from a good place, then just wait until you can come from a good place, and try to work on just dropping that resistance and just taking it lightheartedly, not too seriously. And you can do, everybody can do this. It's how we're built, how we're made. It's just a thing that we do. We do it all of the time, only we don't know that we're doing it. We're just doing this all of the time. My mum is always saying, oh, I was going to call so-and-so, and then they called me right away just when I was thinking, oh, that's weird, isn't it? And she knows what I think. And I said, it's just the way it is. You put it out there, you wanted to hear from that person, you wanted to call them, but you wanted to hear from them, so they've called you. It's just the way that it is. It happens all of the time, like I say, only we don't notice. It's been happening all of our lives. I brought people into my life without knowing that I've done it, when I wasn't, I didn't follow this life, this way of living. But when I look back now, I can see exactly how all of that happened. So you can do it. You have got this. You just have to let go. Or at least let go 60%-ish. Long enough so that you have periods of time when you're not thinking about them, when you're totally engrossed in something else and they are not even in the back of your mind. That's when the magic happens. If you haven't subbed, I would love you to do that. I would really love you to do that for more of the same but different. I'll be coming back with loads and loads of tips in the way that you can just completely change your life and have the life that you dream of, really. You can do that. Anybody can do that. We're all the same. I'm just very, very practiced at this because I decided I was going to get good at this. I wanted to change my life, and I wanted to know how to sort of live my life the way I wanted to live it, on my own terms, ongoing. But you can do this. If you can let go, you can get contact from absolutely anybody.